Oh my gosh. Okay, Sarah, we're here. It's been a long time coming. Let me say, welcome to the first episode of Sidebar, a Neopets podcast. I'm Keaton Jadwin, your raging Neopets enthusiast.
And I'm Sarah Barnes, your more casual player.
In this episode, we discuss who we are and what you can expect from this podcast, a brief recap of major players and moments in the Void Within plot now that the final episode has launched, and the moment we've all been waiting for, because I know everyone wants to know, we will determine the definitive Pikachu of Neopets.
So crack open a fresh can of Diet Neocola, because it's time to explore Neopia on this week's Sidebar.
Sarah?
Yes, Keaton?
What is this podcast?
What is this podcast? I feel like you need to explain what this podcast is, because this is your baby. This has been your brainchild for how many years now?
Probably 2, maybe 3. Yeah, it's basically Neopets is my life, in case most people don't already know that from how I come across on social media, which is not that far off from how I interact in real life about it. I do wear Neopets things all the time. I'm currently wearing the Void Within hat, and a shirt, and a necklace, so it's fine. But essentially, I just wanted to create, I feel like there was a gap in the market for something that would allow people that like Neopets, maybe as much as I do, or maybe a little bit less than I do, to talk about, hear about, discuss, enjoy ramblings. I don't know, put it in the universe and see what happens.
I love it.
It's my favorite thing. Neopets is my favorite thing.
Can I tell a very brief story that solidifies how much you love Neopets?
Absolutely not.
Please, it's so funny.
Yes, of course.
Okay. So, I did not meet you first. I met your partner, Jordan, and I met him back in 2022. We were at a conference together, and we just really hit it off. After our conference sessions that day, I was like, hey, do you want to hang out? Like, do you want to do something? And he was like, oh my God, I totally would, but I can't. And I was like, well, why? He was like, this is going to sound so weird, but have you ever heard of Neopets? And I was like, yeah, I have. I played all the time when I was a kid. And he was like, oh my gosh, are you serious? And so I was like, yeah. And I was like, okay, well, I can't tonight because TNT is having like I don't remember what they call them, the AMAs or something.
Live? Ask me anything.
Yes. It was a live AMA. And he was like, and my partner and I have been looking forward to this for weeks. And so I really got to go do that with him. And I was like, okay, cool, no problem. Like, that's totally okay. So my first introduction to you was your partner telling me he couldn't hang out with me because he had to come hang out with you for a live AMA.
That's the epitome of life. That is correct. That is 100% correct. And what a great partner to be like, yo, so sorry, can't have dinner with you. Got to go watch people talk about Neopets.
We love a supportive partner. And I got to meet you the very next day. So
thank you for sharing that. I think you're right. The next day we were talking about Neopets and I was like, oh my God, this is the first person. And that's why I wanted you to be a part of this podcast. You were the first person IRL, which is so funny. That was also our first meeting, that knew specifics and how to talk about Neopets, or knew things about the site, or knew what a Chia was. It wasn't just a general oh yeah, Neopets, omelet, which honestly, people that just love the omelet and remember that from their childhood, there's a reason why it's iconic.
Yeah. I mean, it came apart at a good time too, because I played a lot when I was younger. I started playing, it had to have been around 2003, 2004, because my neighbor who I hung out with all the time, she introduced me to the site. She was obsessed with Bunnies. And then right around the same time, McDonald's and Neopets did their collab where you could get all the Neopet toys in the Happy Meal. And so from that big marketing push, I started playing on my own. And I got super into it. I was learning HTML, CSS to customize my user lookup. I was on the Neo boards role playing all the time.
Yeah, I've sensed that when we were talking because you knew the intricacies of it. Because there are people that, and again, I love that it touched so many people, like million, like 160 million. I did not do research on this. I'm so sorry. I'll do that next time on the next episode. Like hundreds of millions of people played this game actively at one point in time, and like from a various degree. But you were deep in it.
Yep.
So thank you for being part of this and deep in it to the point where, do you remember the original Sidebar layout?
I do. I was dying the other day because you sent me a picture of it, and it was just like an instant injection of nostalgia.
Like the Sidebar is just so iconic, which obviously leads to why this is called Sidebar, because we're nostalgic for the 2001 layout.
Yeah, and I also think Sidebar works as a name because what people are going to see from us is we kind of can bounce all over in conversations sometimes. It gives us permission to have fun with this and talk about the things in Neopets that we really love.
Yo, Sarah, I got a question for you. Who are you? When did you start playing Neopets? Do you have a favorite plot or event? Favorite on-site game? Past or present? Maybe? We kind of already talked about this a little bit. You said you started in 2003?
Yeah, I did. It had been around 2003, 2004. Because I really do remember, I thought my neighbor who played it was really cool, and she showed me a couple of the games and stuff, but it wasn't until I started diving into the site on my own. When I tell you I was into role-playing on those Neo boards, it's kind of embarrassing.
Okay, but like role play, like what are you? Do you feel comfortable saying what type of role playing?
Oh God,
like generally.
Yeah, it was.
Were you
more
like role playing as Neopets, or like were you in the Wizards realm?
The more of like the Wizards high school realm. That was like the magical teenagers.
Okay.
Yeah, that was my bread and butter. To talk about anything else besides that, I will say my favorite plot on the whole site is, it's basic, but it's the Altador plot for sure.
I would not say basic one bit.
I feel like it's basic because it's the only one that you can still play, so the most people have access to it. I wasn't really on the site for any of the other really big plots, but when I found the Altador plot, it really was I accidentally stumbled upon it. And that whole thing, because sidebar, I was on Neopets, but I wasn't on the internet. And so I didn't know about any of these fan sites that existed that gave you walkthroughs for plots or told you about dailies or anything like that. I was strictly on the boards, and I did the arcade games, and I did like some shopping for my Neopet, and that was the extent of my knowledge of the site.
Would you say that Neopets was your internet? Like there was a time where the internet was just Neopets?
Yeah, for sure. Definitely.
Completely. Same.
I had like brief introductions to the internet through like my computer class in elementary school around the same time. But no, Neopets was 100% how I got into the internet. And I've never looked back. So the Altador plot took me forever because I had no walkthrough. I had to figure it out all on my own.
Wait, but you did it without any guide.
I did it with no guide.
There is nothing basic about that. You just like knew what to do.
I hated the constellations.
Without a guide, I would too.
I think that I did end up going onto the Neo boards at one point. I did figure out that I could go to the Neo boards.
No, and I will say my favorite plot was the Lost Desert plot. Still is, always will be. Love the characters. Something about young children also being obsessed with like ancient Egypt. I don't know. It was kind of like that pipeline for me. Mm-hmm. So that will always have my heart. But the Altador plot especially kind of pulled in from the Neopets Darkest Fairy PlayStation 2 game, and like how that lore was continued. Like they knew what they were doing, expanding the what's it called? You know this. Transmedia storytelling. That's what I'm looking for. But yeah. What's your favorite game?
I actually don't know if I can play this anymore. I don't know if they've updated it yet, but Wingo Ball was one of my favorite games for the longest time. That was like my daily, was logging on and playing Wingo Ball.
You can still play Wingo Ball At least with like the plugin that they've done with oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my gosh.
I don't.
Ruffle, the Ruffle plugin.
Yes.
Okay, go on.
I don't have the Ruffle plugin. I should probably get the Ruffle plugin so I can play Wingo
No,
Ball
no, no.
again.
It's like baked into the website now. Like you can just like it's like they partnered with Ruffle officially, so you can go and play these games without having to download anything.
When did
It's
that
perfect.
happen?
Oh, year and a half, 2 years ago?
I
It's been a
missed that.
while.
I completely missed that. Okay, well, Wingo Ball is now
No
coming back into
judgment.
my life, and I'm very excited about it.
If I'm being completely honest, Wingo Ball is something that I have not played. I looked it up and it looked like gnomes, Chia gnomes, which is
Yes.
honestly,
So you
girl, you know
should
I
have
love a
played it.
Chia. I love a Chia. Yeah, no, I love a Chia. But like Mirga Chase has my heart. Ice Cream Machine has my heart. Am I good at either of them? No, but just because you like something doesn't mean you have to be good at it. Like podcasting.
Listen, you don't have to be good at your hobbies to enjoy them.
Okay, great. The last thing I will say that I want to mention is the McDonald's Happy Meal toys are all over my desk right now. That's also like a core memory of growing up. Obviously, it's just so weird to think about like our childhood and those that were able to log onto the internet, maybe thinking Neopets was the internet, and be like, oh my god, a physical manifestation of this that I can get at a McDonald's. That I will not rest until they come back. I know it's so there's so much work to be done in order to even get that licensing deal in this day and age. We're talking about what was it? Oh no, what's the Netflix Monster Demon Hunters?
K-pop Demon
Is that right?
Hunters?
Monster. Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
That one. Um, like they just had like their collaboration and like their Neopets is we have a ways to go. But I will not rest until they come back to McDonald's. Okay, so let's talk about what's new in Neopia. So already in the month of hunting, which month of hunting is what? May. I still do not know the months at all. Month of running, month of storing. That's not right. Month of celebrating, I think that's December because of the advent calendar. Anyway, we're in the month of hunting, which is May. It's gonna be May. Before I get into it, I do have a question for you, Sarah.
Mm-hmm.
How do you, or how did you, as an 8-year-old playing this game, say the word LUPE?
Is the answer loop?
That is correct. Yes.
Yes.
I unfortunately, or fortunately, I feel like this has been a conversation I've had with some other Neopians. Lupe is how I read it. And I think it's just so even to this day, I'll be like, yeah, that's my Lupe. I don't have a Lupe. But if I had to see, I just did it. Lupe. It's a Lupe.
But that's one of the things is like if you're only interacting with the site and only seeing the names on the site, you don't necessarily know how to pronounce some of these names. So
You think I knew how to say Fiora as an 8-year-old?
I knew how to say Fiora as an 8-year-old.
Okay, okay. Anyway, we've had these 3 pet days. We've had Loop Day, Hissy Day, and oh, I'm sorry.
There was only 2 pet days.
There's only 2 pet days. The Loop Day, we got a swamp gas, which just sounds disgusting to verbalize, actually. A
Yep.
swamp gas loop. 2 new drinks, which are using old artwork. They look real. They look like real loop heads with like red juice in them. They're a choice. Exciting news for those that love customization. This is the first time where you can actually like there is an item that can be used on any form of loop. Hissy Day, we got invisible, which I always think is like not cool. And then I realized that like it actually is kind of cool because you can do cool things with customization. And then one thing that what I thought was not going to be a thing, but it was like an acknowledgement of Tyranian Victory Day because a while back TNT had announced that we're going to pull back on some of the side events and we're not going to be like celebrating them. They're not taking them off the calendar, but we're just going to maybe not have as much content out on those days.
Mm-hmm.
And so they acknowledged it, and we got a Tyranian Varwolf, which looks cool.
So cute.
But
it's so cute.
It is really cute. It is really cute. But one thing that I wanted to kind of highlight is where Tyranny and Victory Day kind of comes from,
Mm.
because I didn't really know. And it's actually kind of cool with the idea of we're currently in this massive plot. But the Tyranian invasion was basically the first type of plot that we had, like a first plot that we had on the site ever. I was not around during it, so all I know is from Jelly Neo. Thanks. Shout out to Jelly Neo for keeping lore, Book of Ages, Hurdy, Slay. I'm assuming you also did not. I mean, you weren't playing during Tyrania invasion, but did you know
No.
anything about Tyrania?
When it comes to the history of it, no. I could be wrong about this. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I felt like I somehow knew there was a connection between Tyrania and the Ice Mountains. Is that correct?
Yes, 100%. Yes, there was an earthquake that split. This is the other thing, is like trust but verify y'all out there. Like split through the Terror Mountain ice caves, which opened up a passageway to a prehistoric land where time did not pass.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we obviously get our prehistoric Tyranian pets and the land. So the earthquake happens. A Chombi, which is when we for the first time that we see a Chombi, like leads people, Neopets, through this tunnel full of greenery, because the Chombi likes to eat greenery. And then we're in Tyrania, and there's like an invasion happening, or a suspected invasion happening, and there's like all of these waves of soldiers, and I
Yeah, so
genuinely am like,
was this a playable plot? Was this a because I know in the plot like now with the Void, it's like, okay, now there's the battle for Faerieland, and so then we go to the Battle Dome. Like, were you going to the Dome and fighting for Tyrania?
yes, and it was like the first plot that had any type of battle dome attached to it, to my knowledge.
Got it.
So it's like, oh, and think about this in like 2001.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so the third year that Neopets was like even a thing, it felt new and fresh of like, yeah, I'm gonna log in, I'm gonna like fight for this land I know nothing about. But essentially, this big bad evil, I'm gonna butcher it, monoceraptor? Monoceraptor?
I mean, I feel like that's correct.
Yeah, we're gonna say monoceraptor, which is like this big
Monoceraptor.
bad, was finally defeated by none other than,
I have two guesses.
yeah, yeah.
What part of me thinks it could be a Kachik because you know those are my favorite, but then the other
Mm-hmm,
part of me is
mm-hmm.
like, was it a Chia?
Oh, which is my favorite. How sweet of you. How kind of you. No, it was a loop. Loop. A loop came and was like, die, Monoceraptor. Boom. That defeated the Monoceraptor, and now we celebrate Tyranian Victory Day every year. All right, everyone, we're going to move into a brief recap of the Void Within plot.
So we're a really exciting point in the site history right now because we are entering the final chapter of the Void Within plot. We've been seeing this since 2024. So we're looking at 2 years now. This plot has been developing, and now we're finally in the last little bit of it. Keaton, how are you feeling about it finally coming to an end after 2 years?
Oh, I'm very excited because I think we are, especially if you are currently like up to date in what's going on, there are some crazy things happening, and it's some crazy things that we've not seen in Neopia to this degree in a very long time. So I'm very excited for it to also wrap up, because I know that there is obviously more stories to tell on the Neopets website. So I'm excited for also what comes next after this, but also like I have no idea what's going to happen.
Yeah. And we are going to stay spoiler free for episode 3 for this podcast episode. So, if you haven't had time to catch up on episode 3 yet, do not fret because we are just going to be discussing the setup in episodes 1 and 2 today. Keaton, who's your favorite character from The Void Within?
That's actually something I've not really thought much about.
Mm.
So I went back and read episodes 1 and 2 because I had not seen or read anything for quite some time. I think if we're talking about like character, like I think it might be Vera.
Interesting. He picks the
Yeah.
villain.
What is yours?
This is a no competition answer for me. It is Junie, 100%. I would die for Junie. Oh, here's a new word. How do we say Junie's species?
Oh, oh, I always said Fairly.
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 Fairly. That seems like it could be right. Okay. Well, I would climb Mount Everest for this pink little Fairly.
But would
I
you climb Terror Mountain for this little
I
Fairly?
would climb Terror Mountain. Do you want to give us a quick recap of what has happened in episodes 1 and 2?
Yes, absolutely. Episode 1 starts with like Meridel turning gray overnight.
Overnight.
Fiora's like, "Oh my God, council of leaders, let's get together in Altador." So they all go to Altador, and essentially Nyx and Junie then fall from the sky. With there's like a rift in the sky that they pass through, and they fall and they meet Baelia, the Gray Fairy, and
Tavi?
Tavi, the Red Curie. Thank you so much. You're so right. And then after like kind of having a moment together while the leaders are in Altador, they make their way to Neopia Central, which is where Nyx is originally from. She approaches her old childhood house and sees that it's abandoned. Just then, the Gray Painter and Vera show up, and there's like a fight of sorts that happen. There's a rekindling of, not a rekindling, like a reunion between the Gray Painter and Nyx. We find out that the Gray Painter is actually Ozzy, her little brother, who she left behind for a job with Virtue Pet's space station as a pilot. She thought it was only a few weeks. It actually ends up being 20 years that she has
Mm-hmm.
not been. So he feels very abandoned, which makes sense that he has this paintbrush that he's, basically wielding and turning everything gray. There's that kerfluffle that happens outside of their home, which, by the way, going back and reading episode 1, Ozzy literally takes the paintbrush and destroys his childhood home.
Yeah.
I'm chills right now, full on body chills. Like, I did not catch that the first time through, and going back to the comics and seeing that he's like, yeah, I'm just gonna completely destroy my childhood home because like it means nothing to me anymore, or like I'm so angry or so frustrated. Anyway, so the heroes of that, which
Fiora calls in Luxinia to the Hall of Heroes at some point.
you're right. Fiora introduces Luxinia, who is also part of Fairy Fragments, which is the mobile game, but she is also with our heroes. So she escapes. Oh, sorry, all of our heroes escape Neopia Central to the Haunted Woods. Um, while they are there in the Haunted Woods, Tavi shares her own like history of recovery. She had like a moment of like her like losing friends, like a climbing or like a hiking crew. And she actually is the one that discovered Bailey and set Bailey free. And then all of a sudden, Fiora sends a hologram to Nyx's device, like the void dampener
Mm-hmm.
device that's around her hand.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was Nyx, or it could have been Junie's neck
I'm pretty sure it was
dampener. But
Nyx.
anyway, you're right. A hologram is sent, and she's like, "Yo, you need to get back to Altador so you can intercept the people that you just left in Neopia Central, the Gray Painter and Vera." And so that's where episode 1 ends. Is like they're in the Haunted Woods. And then Tavi's like, "Yo, that's so far away. Yo, I remember in this song, the song that I learned as a hiker, that there is a shortcut." And
Shortcut.
so they have a shortcut that they have to go through the mountains to find so they can go straight through the mountain to Altador. That is how episode 1 ends. And she warns everyone that it will not be easy. That shortcut will not be easy.
So what you said about Ozzy destroying his childhood home, I totally agree with you. I think going back on the reread, it had such a bigger impact because, through
I agree.
episode 2, part of what happens in episode 2 is we hear more of Ozzy's story and his perspective, and finding out how much hurt and pain he was holding from that time in his life. Like when you originally see him destroy the house, it's like not as significant, but then when you realize all of the memories and everything that is tied to that house for him, going back and seeing him do that in the very first episode is really interesting, and I think lends itself to his character development a lot.
Yeah, and that's something that like you said, I did not realize until I went back and it landed with me. I was like, oh crap. Like this dude he's feeling a lot of things
Mm-hmm.
and they are valid. Like his sister left him for 20 years or literally probably thought forever at that point.
Yeah.
So there was a hiatus from that was announced that happened from November 1st of 2024 all the way to August 4th of 2025. So almost a year kind of pause. Through that though there were like site events that kind of hinted towards it. And then episode 2 happens. Sarah, would you let us know what happens in episode 2
Oh my
of
gosh,
The Void Within?
absolutely. So we pick up pretty much right where we left off. The group is still in the haunted woods. They're heading to the shortcut through this mountain. And what follows is a series of unfortunate events. I don't know. I questioned Tavi's song a little bit for not mentioning all of the puzzles that they were going to have to encounter when they get into this cave, but they hit block after block. Well, let me go back. So once they get into the cave, we see Luxinia basically has like a panic attack because she is afraid that she's being put back into the crystal that she was trapped in for a really long time. And so her friends have to comfort her, but then Balia, we find out, has a bunch of crafting skills. And so she's able to actually build a lantern that utilizes Luxinia's magic so they can walk through the cave and actually see where they're going. My favorite part of episode 2 then commences where they meet the three-headed Luperus. So cute, so adorable. And then afterwards, we have the interactive puzzles. I think there were three or four back to back, where we as site users got to help the group by solving these puzzles to get them from chamber to chamber in the cave. And then once they're finally outside the cave, also, I feel like it's worth mentioning this shortcut ended up not being a shortcut whatsoever. They 100% could have gotten to their destination in equal, if not quicker time, if they just would have gone around the long way. IMO, in my
But
opinion.
do you think you're right though about that song, not talking about all of the chamber puzzles? Because if it was just a straight shortcut through the mountain, I think they probably could have. But the fact that they had to like strategize and spend time trying to figure out how to like Indiana Jonesing their way through this temple or this
Yes.
cave, yeah, it clearly was not easy at all.
So they finally get out of the cave and they find the statue of, here's another thing I'm not quite sure how to say, the Gormandizer? Gormandizer?
Gormanizer,
That's what we're
yes,
going to
I
say.
think that's right.
Okay. And this was a pretty big moment because we found out is the monster that originally was hunting and attacking Nyx and Junie when they were in space. So this is a big moment of context for us for the plot because now we're starting to see how some of these pieces connect together. And then Tavi was super smart. Love my girl Tavi. Makes a rubbing of the statue before then they rush to Altador. So they get there and Altador is under siege and they're able to intercept Ozzy and Vera. And Nyx tries to apologize to Ozzy, but Vera is really kind of manipulative and shuts that down. And then the Doggo Fox. They met the Doggo Fox in the cave, right? No, they met the
In the
Doggo
Haunted
Fox
Woods.
in the haunted woods. Okay. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So rewinding briefly, we actually had another member join the party when the heroes were in the haunted woods. A Doggo Fox, at the time, I felt like it was super random, just joins the group and they take him with them through the mountain. But we actually find out that the Doggo Fox is a key character in all of this because it charges at Ozzy during this battle and Ozzy blasts it with the paintbrush and the moment kind of shocks him into this state where Luxinia and Balia are able to
Nailed it.
thank you. They are able to make contact with him and through that we're able to start traveling through his memories and get more of his context and how the Gray Painter came to be.
And that's kind of where episode 2 ends.
Yeah.
And then we went on another hiatus from September 28th, 2025 to April 28th of 2026. And the final episode is currently live now. All right, everyone. The moment you have been waiting for. I know everyone really wants to know, what is Neopets Pikachu? And we're about to make that definitive decision right here, right now on this episode. And I'm very excited for this because I do think there is a definitive answer that you and I might be able to come to an agreement on.
We will see, because we haven't told each other our picks.
Oh yeah, we have no idea. You're right, 100%.
So prior to our recording, we did a bit of research based on the criteria that comes from Masakazu Kubo, who is a producer and author known for his role in creating the Pokemon anime series and then also managing the franchise's media expansion in the late 1990s.
There's basically criteria checklist that he wanted to ensure that when they made this decision of who was going to be the mascot of Pokemon, this is what it had to entail. It had to be a memorable but warm image. It had to be non-threatening color, a catchy name, an unforgettable refrain, which we don't really have with Neopets. Neopets don't really speak their own refrain. They do speak English. But most importantly, the creature had to be cute. So let's start with you, Sarah. Who's your number 3 option?
So for number 3, I had a tie. I said either the Poogle or the Bunny. And I know the Bunny is more of a natural looking Neopet, but my introduction to Neopets was through Bunnies. So I think that there's a level of nostalgia there that influences my decision on that a little bit. I also feel when we're talking about site nostalgia, that was such a popular pet back in the early 2000s. And the same thing with the Poogle. I think the Poogle is one of the more classic Neopet characters with the shapes. Poogle racing has been on the site for a hot minute and was, I think, another one of the pets that was used a lot in advertising in the early 2000s. Tied for third for me is the Poogle and the Bunny.
Okay, I will say, like, great choices. Agree with them. That is not my number 3, but my number 3. But what I will say, and what's actually a great point, is that the site did such a good job with using so many variety of Neopets, and like you didn't know who was the mascot. And I think at this point in time, you can kind of see what is like resonating with people, like in 2026, like what type of merchandise is being created. But back then, like I do remember seeing a Bunny. I remember seeing a Scorchio. I remember seeing a Jub. And I'm like, I don't know who. So this brings me to my number 3, which is a little bit based in also the way in which I saw the site, a Chia. Unfortunately, it's not number 1 because not everyone thinks they are cute. And if you don't, fight me. But Chia for me was like the way in which I saw the site. You log in, they're everywhere, they're in advertising. It does have like that, like, I mean, copyright, but like the little jingle, like the jingle that everyone's thinking of right now that I just almost said. Like there's that connection to it with like the Pikachu, like like the way in which it's, like that type of phrasing. So that's kind of why I said number 3 was Chia, even though I recognize that it is not the Neopets Pikachu at all, but it had to place. I'm sorry, it had to place for me.
I honestly fully expected that to be your number 1. I expected you to come in with like a 5-paragraph essay on why the Chia should be the Pikachu of Neopets.
I mean, I believe that, but I also I can sometimes step out and objectively assess certain things about this brand. Sometimes.
This is one of those rare instances.
Oh my God, thank you. Compliment.
You're welcome.
All right, moving into number 2, the number 2 spot.
Still kind of going on my original criteria, I said the Aisha. I think that character is super unique to the site. I think the animation style is super unique to the site. I've always kind of thought of it as like an alien cat.
And I'm gonna interrupt and say that is my number 2, is the Aisha.
No
100%.
Way.
So we are together on that. And yeah, absolutely, it's like an alien cat, 1000%. I mean, to the point we have like the alien Aisha machine. We have an alien Aisha. But in its base form, it is giving alien cat. She basically has 4 ears. Like, what?
Yeah. And I think that's something too that, when we see the merch that was coming out back in early 2000s, and also the merch that's coming out now. That's still a super popular character that's usually included with like the whole gang. So I think that that's a really strong contender.
I think why the Aisha doesn't take the number one spot for me is that it's doesn't have a cuddly appearance to me. It's cute, but it's not something that I necessarily want to cuddle. And I think that's what's weird about the space cat idea is that like, I want to cuddle a cat. Do I want to cuddle a space cat?
It's the antenna.
It's the antenna ears. She's cute, but like for me, it doesn't take the number one spot because she's not cuddly. And what's weird about Pikachu is like he looks cuddly, like he's a little ball. Like I want to hug him.
I want to squish him.
I want to squish him.
Okay, well then, Keaton, who is your number one Neopet? Because I think you know who mine is, so I'm interested in knowing who your number one Neopet is that is squishy enough to be the Pikachu of Neopets.
I think you might be happy. My number one is a Kachik.
Yes! I'm very happy.
It is. I do think the Kachik is the Neopets Pikachu. We may have just lost a lot of lifetime listeners for this first episode, or we may have just gained lifetime listeners. I do think that it kind of ticks all of the boxes of it being a memorable but warm images. It has, I mean, all of them are non-threatening colors, but it has a non-threatening color. Even its name is catchy, Kachik. I mean, it gives like a Pikachu feeling as well with that, like the percussion of like Kachik, Kachik, you know?
Pikachu. Kachik.
Yes, exactly. Exactly that. So, and that's not necessarily why, but and visually, like it is one of those things, and it is also currently in merchandise that you can find.
Yep.
It's the mascot for Neopets for me. Well, I would say mascot, but I want to say a mascot. I think I keep saying like mascot as if it is like synonymous with Pikachu, and it is not in my brain. Pikachu of Neopets is Kachik.
Yeah. If it is not completely obvious, I 100% agree with you. Kachik has always been my favorite pet. I have always had at least one Kachik. I think there was one time that I had a Bori instead of a Kachik, but then I got a morphing potion pretty quickly and changed it to a Kachik because it's the OG. And I do think you bring up a really very strong point that I think the Neopets team has done a really great job of not singling out one specific pet to be its mascot. There are lots of different pets that, and you know, we're not even, these are not necessarily our favorite pets either. Like your favorite pet is a Chia. So if we were ranking favorites, yours would be number one. If we were ranking favorites.
Correct.
I love the Drakes. I think the Drakes are super cute and they're one of my favorites, but I don't think that it can have that mascot status.
But to be honest, the Chia also was launched with the site, so
maybe one day you can launch a campaign to get the Chia more marketability.
It's just one of those things where like I think Chias deserve to have a new plushie, and like there will be an episode just about my love of Chias. Unfortunately, heads up, Sarah, it's inevitable. The vegetable and the fruit Chias are just like they're perfect and they're ripe for a plushie. So our next episode will continue our discussion of the Void Within plot with the addition of episode 3, Pentimento of the Painted.
We'll also be taking you into the daily grind and answering the question, what dailies do you actually complete and why?
A huge thank you for joining us on our very first episode of Sidebar. Y'all, we did it. If you enjoyed it, or even if you didn't, make sure you subscribe and share the show with your fellow Neopians.
You can follow the show on Instagram at Sidebar the Pod.
And you can follow me at Keaton Jadwin. We'll see you next time, and until then, may all your random events be good ones.
Were we supposed to do it at the same time that time? My bad.
Yeah, but what I can actually level. So if you just do it by yourself, I can like just layer it and it sounds fine.
All your random events be good ones.
Okay, perfect.